Green Line Breakdown, wow, are we on episode 19? Jeez, can't believe I made it this far. If you're still with me, thanks for sticking around, guys. Hope you've been enjoying the show up until this point. I'm back in the TD garden with the ghost figure. Yep, wish my camera was better. It's not. Thank you guys for tuning in. A lot of news to get to. Some Celtics related, some not so Celtics related. The later we get into the season here with only a little over 10 games, just 10 games left, it's not going to be so much about the games, right? Because we kind of know what kind of team we are and we know what's ahead of us. So it's going to be more about what's going on in the league. And really, once playoffs start, that's when we'll get back into the Celtics. So big week for the NBA. What happened? What's going on? And how is the seating in front of us going to change? Let's run down the games real quick so we can get to that. And then we will get right into what I consider maybe the biggest news of the year that affects the Celtics greatly. So, welcome back. Welcome back for another week. I left you off with seemingly a Western Coast team slate coming to us. And then one more game at the end to tip it off with the Grizzlies on Friday. We play the Timberwolves tonight. Big game, huge game. I'm a big Timberwolves fan. I like Anthony Edwards. I like how he paid all his child support up front. I'm a big fan of that. Didn't know you could do that. He's opened a lot of gates for a lot of men out there. Not exactly great men, but men nevertheless. So Anthony Edwards, a stalwart, a leader in that. Shout out you. But that's tonight. I'm filming this on Sunday. That's 8 p.m. And like I said, we had some West Coast teams come to us, starting with Phoenix on Monday, right? Phoenix is kind of a middle-of-the-road team at the moment, and that's where they're going to end up. I think they're going to sneak in, but it's not going to be anything special coming out of the Phoenix Suns. I've talked about them before. I like the team. I like their owner, but they're kind of in a transition year with how much they dumped, getting rid of Durant. They're definitely in a rebuild, even though they're still a meddling team and still fun to watch. I think so. They don't have any players on that roster that really shout, wow, that's a tough team to play. So we took care of them, I think, handedly. You had a bunch of guys pull up minutes-wise. The deeper we get in, it's good to see that some of these bench guys are getting strong minutes, over 20 minutes. They're going to need it. We're going to go to probably an 8-man rotational in the playoffs, and we need all 8 of those guys to be solid. Good effort from Tatum. Coming into the second week, he's still playing solid. Jaylen Brown, I think, is still kind of the main drive, but Tatum is comfortable, and that is the big thing I've seen over the last few weeks is that he doesn't really have resistance going into these games. You would think, coming off of what he did in his Achilles rupture, hard injury to come back to. And the reason why, right, is if this is your foot, if this is your leg and this is your foot, the Achilles is what wraps that heel and allows it to move and put pressure on and bend. And when that thing splits, these two parts don't talk to each other anymore, right? I'm a medical professional. The corner doesn't talk and bend, and it's hard to and most of you, now that I realize most of you are listening to this, so that didn't help you at all, but whatever, fuck you. That is a hard injury to come back to, especially in the NBA, where all you do is plant, pivot, cut corners, push off. Very difficult. The medicine over the years has gotten better. Jason Tatum is probably the next iteration in those group of players that really are showing how it doesn't have to be a full year. If you do the right work, if you put in the effort, you can come back a lot earlier. And Tatum is showing that. He is maybe not obviously all NBA level coming back right away, but he is not missing a lot of what he carried over, which is the biggest fear, right? Are they coming back the same player? If Jason Tatum never makes an all-NBA again, I will definitely be disappointed because I think he's still a top 5. One of the best American players in the league, if not the best. And he, for sure, would be mad himself if he never got back to that level. But I think from what I've seen in the short time we've had him back is that he's not going to be a shell of himself. He's already back to good form. All-star Jason Tatum. He's there. With more conditioning, more games under his belt, he hopefully will get even better. We're not looking for him to be a major role player. And now it seems that the playoffs are going to get easier. I'll get into that later. But good work from him. Good to see. Going back to the Suns game, 32 minutes. Good to see the increased minutes. 21 points, 8 of 18 from the field, 2 of 8 from the three. I'm not too excited about. I'd like those numbers to be maybe 3 of 8 would have been a little better. He's getting to the line at 3 of 3. Rebounding has been surprising. And that is probably the most surprising because Jason Tatum was one of the lead rebounders on this team the last 4 years. He is a major player in offensive and defensive rebounding. He has jump, he has reach, he's able to get a lot of those. He was able to carry a lot of the load where I feel like in past years, rebounding has not been that great. This year, not the same. I feel like maybe Joe Mazzulla might have overcorrected with Tatum not being there. He knew that was going to be a problem, and maybe they drove that into the younger guys, like go get rebounds. We've had an issue. So it's been a good effort from the team all around because of rebounding this year. But Jason Tatum coming back has helped that situation even more. And to see he's comfortable getting in the dirt, in the center, in the paint, and taking care of those rebounds still, it's just good to see. And then you've got Hauser, 23 minutes, 2 points. Very disappointing. 23 minutes, you're 1 for 3. 0 for 2 for the three-point line. It's not that you didn't make the shots. It's that you didn't take them. 23 minutes, you took 3 shots? 3 shots. You got 4 rebounds, you got a steal, cool. You took 3 shots, you're a shooter. That's what we put you out there for, Sam Hauser. Take the shots. I believe you'll make them. Or even if you don't, I'd rather you would take the shots in 23 minutes. Sure, there were instances where maybe you weren't getting the ball. And like I said, Tatum being back, Jaylen Brown had a huge night, which I'll get into, but it might have been a ball hogging night as well. But the point being, 23 minutes, you got to have more opportunities than 3. Take the shots, Hauser. Please. Don't make me ask you again. Cade at 33 minutes, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. A little disappointing. And again, this is the Suns team. We took care of this team. I never felt it was in question. Mostly because of Jaylen Brown, Tatum's efforts. But I don't know. I just feel like when you're playing that load of minutes, you can get more opportunities. 2 for 4. So, I mean, you were, 4 shots. Yeah, you can get a little more in there, I'm sure. The rebounding is a little disappointing as well. And then, the 2 big guys here, I think, it's hard to say 2 big guys because I feel like Derek White and Jason Tatum had a bit, similar type of night. Derek White, 29 minutes, 21 points, 50% from the field. Almost 5 of 11 from the three-point line. He did feel a little on fire that night. And he was taking them. Why wasn't Hauser? You bum. And obviously Jaylen Brown, 39 minutes, 41 points, 10 of 20 from the field. Jaylen Brown was taking a lot of shots. Made 50% of them. Honestly, if you're taking 20 shots, I don't love the efficiency. 10 of 20 is a good looking number, but the better looking number is 19 of 21 from the free throw line. One, that's a lot of free throws. At least you made them, though. Like, I'm just glad to see that. Holy crap. Jaylen Brown, that is maybe one of the worst aspects of your game when you don't make free throws and you're a Supermax player. Not all of them. 70% at least. If you're a Supermax, I feel like that should be in the contract or in the rules. If you don't make 70% of your free throws, you can't be a Supermax player. I'm sure a lot of us would like that. 7 rebounds, 6 assists. It was your night, Jaylen Brown. You kind of are reasserting yourself after Jason Tatum's little spurts of, I'm back. You're reasserting yourself as the primary guy, which I'm okay with. I do think it should go back to who's feeling the hot hand, give it to him. Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, because Tatum's really back and comfortable. But another thing I want to point out, Jason Tatum being back, Derek White's already more comfortable. You can just see him going around the court. He just has a little more spunk to his step. His best friend's back, and that's good to see. We are collectively whole again. And of course, you got, Pritchard, 37 minutes, 19 points. Pritchard never left. And some of the younger guys, Sharman, Gonzalez, Garza. I hate you, Garza. Getting smaller minutes, but still involved. Sharman got 26. I think that was the thing I saw first was, okay, he's still getting over 20 minutes. I don't know what this lineup's going to look like when the playoffs come, because that's 9 guys I named. Are they going to run 9? Probably not. Vooch is coming back. I really don't have an update on you for that, but they said about a month, so he'll be back in the playoffs. If you run 9, who loses that spot? Gonzalez? Probably Garza, yeah. I don't want to see Garza on the court. And honestly, if it's over Gonzalez and Shireman, do you have to go to Shireman? Because, I don't know. I think Shireman gets the nod there. But, like I said, good game. Took care of the Suns. That's all we really cared about. Moved on to the Warriors, and what can I say about the Warriors, man? Disappointing to say the least. 33 and 38. Terrible. And I'm going to bring it up because it makes me mad, but Al Horford, who isn't playing right now, why did you leave? What about the... I shouldn't even say this. I don't blame him for looking at the team we were and going, I don't trust them. My career's dwindling. Probably maybe my last year. I'd rather just try to go for a championship. That's fine. What about the Warriors made you think that? What of that Warriors team in the offseason was like, they're the team that's going to make a championship run? What about them? I said that when it happened. I still don't get it. There were other teams that you could look at. The Rockets, maybe. Timberwolves. Like, there are a bunch of teams that you're just like, yeah, you know what? They can win a championship. The Warriors not one of those teams. So now you look really stupid because the Warriors are terrible and are injury ridden. I mean, this is the starting lineup from that game on Wednesday. Draymond Green, Santos, Porzingis, somehow playing, Melton, and Potemkin. No Curry, no Horford. It's disappointing all around. Butler is just such a terrible trade. This whole team just makes me upset. And part of that is because how Horford went there, and he was an idiot, and I hope he retires, honestly. I don't want to see this go on any longer. But, took care of the Warriors. We should when the lineup is like that. Jason Tatum, 31 minutes, 24 points. Good to see. 7 of 15 in the field, 5 of 11 from the three-point line, 5 of 6, 10 rebounds. Great game. Jason Tatum, great game. Warriors, you said, yeah, I hate Steve Kerr. I'm going to kill Steve Kerr. And he did that. He said, your team sucks, and I'm still God. And that's what happens. I'm just running down stats at this point. Jaylen Brown, 32 points. Good to see. 99 from the three. It's a good trend. Everybody else kind of had an okay game. Pritchard at 19, consistent. Shireman, 3. Garza, 15, who did okay this time. Still don't like you, Garza. Something about you. I don't know. Eastern European? I don't even know if he is. I'm just making a guess, but I don't like you, Garza. Anyway, we took care of the Warriors. And then on Friday, you had a game against the Grizzlies. These are 3 teams that are either meddling or just bottomed out, and they're kind of done. Grizzlies, Warriors, both. Not an important game, but it was my sister's wedding, so I still felt the need that even though that was an important part of her life, I had to get some work done. So I stuck my phone on the table. People were coming by and like, what are you doing? I'm like, the Celtics are on. This is your sister's wedding. I'm like, I don't think you understand which one I appreciate at the moment right now. How good this Celtics team with Tatum missing for 80% of the season, losing Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Al Horford, and we're all sitting here like, oh, they're going to be a terrible team. And they said, nope, we're actually going to be the number 2 seed in the East the entire season after losing 5-6 games straight, whatever it was in the beginning. People forget that. People forget we were on a bad losing streak with some bad losses the first couple of weeks. What am I more excited to see? That team enter into the playoffs or my sister's wedding? Good question. A question I'm not going to answer. I'm going to let you answer mentally. You don't see my sister on this podcast, do you? No. No, you see the banners hanging in the back if you're watching this on video. Anyway, we took care of the Grizzlies. It actually got pretty close towards the end, but we took care of that team, as we should. That team is full of bums. And you know what? The last 2 seasons, maybe not this year, but the season before, I was so excited to see what the Grizzlies could do when Marcus Smart went with Desmond Bane, obviously John Morant, and they're bottomed out. It's disappointing to see. And we took care of business. In the end, finished 117-112. That's all you care about. Got close at times, but just trying to get to the efficiency. Jason Tatum, 13 points. Not the best game, but, you're not going to have great ones. Or you're not going to have all great ones. Jaylen Brown, 30 points. Still the primary. Garza with 22, which, again, these are bum teams, and they're getting big minutes. Why is Garza getting the big minutes? Maybe because Vooch is out and it's really just Cade. I'd rather watch Cade work for 40 minutes than watch Garza hit the court and wear that Celtics jersey. Pritchard, 19. All around, Derek White, 14. Rebounding, wasn't as great, which I think is why this game was kind of close. Teoh with 11, but outside that, Tim had 9. But everybody else faltered. I always say for a good rebounding game, either one guy has to really pop off or you had 3 guys. Take care of business. So, took care of Grizzlies. Game was over. We went 3-3 on the week. That is good to see, and it's going to help our seeding. And I'm going to tell you why. Because last week I would have told you with the losses to OKC and the Spurs in bad fashion, in the way it was with Jaylen Brown complaining, and then it got a close loss at the end to the Thunder. I would have said, you know what? Not pack it up, but you're comfortable in the 2 seed. Don't overwork yourselves. It would have been nice to see you guys get the 1 seed, but you're not there. That's okay. 2nd seed's just as great. I don't like that we'll probably have to play the Knicks, or we're close. We could drop to the 3rd, but in the end, playoffs are the same if we're 2nd or 3rd. I would have liked to play Cleveland in the 2nd round. I think it would have been better for us. I don't want to see New York early. I would rather see them when it's important. I feel like that we're more likely to beat them the deeper we go. Like a 1st round, I feel like we would lose against the Knicks, even though they haven't been doing great. 2nd round, that's where we lost to them last year. I feel like if we get to the Eastern Conference Finals, there's something about the Knicks where they're just like, oh, we're 1 game away from the finals. We're going to lose this. I'd be more comfortable. But we weren't going to get that privilege because we're going to be cemented into the 2nd seed. Or so I thought. And then I got the news on Wednesday or Thursday. I forget. One of those days. That Cade Cunningham, MVP candidate, leader of the number 1 seeded Detroit Pistons in the East, is done for, I think, the season. I've heard some things. He has a collapsed lung. I'm not sure how he got that. I know a pneumothorax is possible when you're really tall and skinny. Cade isn't or just tall at all. But, like, I feel like Cade doesn't have the body type that you normally see that in. Garza is a guy who, you look at him, you're like, his lung's going to collapse. Hopefully. Not hopefully. That's terrible. It's painful. I didn't look too much into it, but he has a collapsed lung, and he is definitely out probably for the remainder of the regular season. I think he's done for the season. But I saw some stories that there are some guys here and there that have come back with a good seed. Sorry. I'm getting lost here. That have come back with short time frames after a collapsed lung. I don't see that coming to fruition the way everybody was talking, the way the media was going about things. It doesn't seem like Cade will be in that position. I'm not really sure the extent of, I guess you call it, an injury. What does this mean for us? What does this mean for Detroit? What does this mean for the East? I believe I said 2 or 3 weeks ago now, us against Detroit in Eastern Conference Finals, I would think I would give that to Detroit. I was more eager to see Detroit lose early. Like, I feel because they're young and they don't have a lot of playoff experience, if they lose early in the 1st or 2nd round, which is possible because of their experience, it's good for us. They're more likely to lose then than I think if they had got into the Eastern Conference Finals. This is with Cade now. If they got into the Eastern Conference Finals, they would have a few series wins under their belt. They could taste the finals, and they are a good team. So the big thing was getting the wins early. And the way the seeding would have gone, we would have faced them in the Eastern Conference. I don't think without Cade, that team is going to maybe get past the 2nd round. I would like to think that even though they are a pretty well managed, well coached, and good depth team, like they're not bums on that team without Cade. I'm not going to go so far with that. And if you look at the 1st round of the East, I thought like 1 through 4 was going to win, because I think what's going to evidently be 5 through 8 after the plan are all teams that can just be beat in a full series. I feel like 1 through 4 is too strong. All well coached, all good players. Could there be an upset? Maybe. I don't see it. I don't think it's likely. So I think Detroit can still get a win in the 1st round. But without Cade, he is the engine of that team. He is the reason they are the 1 seed. They are closer to the 5 through 8 teams without him than they are to the 1 through 4. He's that much of a effect. He just changes the makeup of a team. He's an MVP candidate. That is what it is. I accredit him with as much of an effort to lead their team that Jaylen Brown was going through without Tatum this year. So much so that I think Cade probably should have got MVP even over Jaylen. Because I think he's that much more cleaner of a player, more efficient maybe. Maybe not efficient, but he's in the, how do I phrase this? He is the primary effector of every game they play in, where Jaylen Brown has some bad nights. Bad is strong, but there are still some players. Pritchard against the Lakers. There are some guys that you look to on our team that you could still say Derek White when he wants to this year. I don't know, but where you go, if they have a good night, we can win this game. Jaylen Brown doesn't have to have a great night every night. If these guys can play well, we'll still win. I'm not sure if Detroit has those guys. They really do play off of Cade full time. We were, and I'm trying to get the standings up here. We were 3-4 games away? No, we're 4 now. We are 4 games behind Detroit now, with 10 games left. Detroit has 10 games. We have also 10 games. Detroit has, for the most part, taken care of business. They've played some pretty easy teams. It's only been 2 games, but it was the Wizards and the Warriors, so I'm not going to give them too much credit. Now, I'm looking at their schedule these last 10 games. Lakers, Hawks, who are on a tear right now. Pelicans will probably be a win. Timberwolves, Thunder, Raptors, Timberwolves again, Sixers, Magic, Bucks, who they'll probably beat, Hornets, who are on a tear, and Pacers. Without Cade Cunningham, there are 7 losable games. The Celtics have in front of them in their last 10 games, admittedly not much easier, but 12 games, 12. Timberwolves tonight, Thunder on Wednesday, Hawks, who are on a tear, Hornets, who are doing pretty good, Hawks again, Heat, Bucks, Raptors, Hornets, Knicks, Pelicans, Magic. Wow. Why? Going into my thought, those last 2 seconds there, I would have told you the Celtics have an easier schedule than Detroit in front of them. Now that I've read that out loud, I no longer think that. That being said, anything can happen. We are 4 games behind. Without Cade, they could lose all 10. Maybe not, though. Maybe they are solid and they play well. I'm not going to completely hate on Detroit. They have ballers. They have guys who are just flat out players of the game. So I so eloquently put it. But just to read off, Thompson, I like, I forget if that's Amon or Osser or however you pronounce it. It's Osser Thompson. I like him. Durant, I like. Duncan Robinson's a great guard. He was a great guard on Miami. Green, Karis LeVert. They have good, solid, fundamental players. Durant's probably going to be doing the heavy work. Jenkins, 22 points. That's pretty crazy. But Detroit doesn't scare me anymore like they would have if we saw them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Even if they get the 1 seed, it doesn't shock me if Cleveland beats them in the second round. Cleveland is a lot similar structure of Detroit, but they have the players, Donovan Mitchell, Harden, Jared Allen. Those are guys that have been around the block. We've seen what they can do. They have the playoff experience. They're a little older. I just don't see it. Without Cade, there is confidence that these guys get bounced second round at max, right? And it's disappointing because Detroit's having a fantastic season. And I like that team, and I like Cade Cunningham. I said I thought he should be MVP. But the faith has been lost kind of all around. Watching First Take, they're saying similar things to what I'm saying. We shouldn't count out this Detroit team, but the East has opened up. Celtics, with Tatum coming back, Eric White seemingly getting more comfortable with him, Vooch hopefully coming back before the playoffs start. Man, I'm starting to smell that finals run. Lord, please. Please, Lord, please let this Celtics team get to the finals. Of course, I'll be disappointed if they lose in the finals. But man, if we got to the finals this year, go back to the first 2 episodes of this show and how disappointing I was. And I was saying at that point, I'd be happy with a mediocre season, not a tank, but a 500 team, competitive games, week in and week out, which is what I like to see. I'm doing this because I watch these games. I enjoy watching the game, whether that's regular season or postseason. I get people complain about the basketball regular season, the NBA regular season. It's not something that it's hard to explain, right? I love the finesse and artistry in basketball, which is why I will tune into a regular season game. If it's a blowout, I'll turn it off, unless it's the Celtics. But I see what you mean. You got to love the sport of basketball and understand the beauty of the movement to really tune in every game, watch these games. You got to fall in love with it. It was disappointing to see teams tank. That's why I hate the Wizards. Although they're doing something now. The Hornets turned it around. Teams like the Pelicans, where there's just nothing going on all the time. And there's other teams, but I hate those teams because they don't step up for their cities. Whether it's bad ownership or just guys that give up, being a tanking team is horrible. Be a mediocre team. Chicago Bulls for the last 6, 7, 8 years, very mediocre team. But you know what? The people of Chicago watch the Bulls because they're a 500 team, but they could beat anybody on any given night. You tune in because you know could be something there. They could win a game. They could beat OKC. Maybe not this year, but years in past where they were 500. They were the 500 team. You could still tune in. You could still watch and enjoy the game. it would be crazy to see this Celtics team, who I was hoping would be mediocre, go to the finals. There are people that I know that I follow on social media that would not live it down, that are just Celtics haters, that are sickened by how successful this team is, how well the organization is run, just how lucky the leprechaun, how lucky this team is to be in this position. And we really are. We, as a city, as a state, as a region in New England, we are extremely lucky that, at worst, our sports teams are mediocre. We are never sucking bad. The Red Sox have been god-awful to their fans the last few years, probably since the 22 ALCS, right? I think we lost to the Braves that year. We've been 500. We've never had we had maybe one bad season, really bad season. The Bruins last year, terrible season. Basically, I guess they tanked towards the end. They definitely sold off their players, Marchand. That was the first time I've ever seen a New England team really suck bad. Outside of New England the last few years, where we were a top 5 pick the last 3 years straight. But that's like an anomaly. Like those few years where we're just the worst of the league is a rarity. We are mostly mediocre, if bad. And everybody looks at that and says, wow, terrible team, horrible. Don't put that out there again. 500, we're not going to be 500. If the city of Boston, the state of Massachusetts, the region of New England, if any of those teams don't make the playoffs, we need to completely change everything. That is the mindset. Having that mindset, these teams react properly. New England the Patriots kind of patted their foot a little bit, but football is hard to turn around. Celtics, it would have been an easy year for the organization to go, look, we got to get under the cap. Team's gone for most of it. Fuck it. We're just going to sit it out. And they didn't do that, so much so that they're the second seed in the East with a clear path to the finals. And that's why you do it, because you don't know what's around you. You don't know what can happen. The number one team in the East is done, basically. The other teams around you are just as good as you. You can beat them, they can beat you, but you can beat them. That's what's important. And yes, are the teams in the West better than you? Maybe. But by the time you get to the finals, it's anybody's game. Could they smoke you? Absolutely. Can you beat them at that point to say, fuck it, it's just them. Let's kill ourselves to kill them. Could they do that? Absolutely. And that's why year in and year out, you go in. You go in on it because you don't know how the field's going to play out. And the Celtics are being rewarded with an easy field because they didn't tank. They did the right things. They made the right moves. They got lucky the leprechaun. They got lucky, and the field is working out in their favor. And that's why you do it. I feel for Detroit. You know what? Their loss is our game. And that's all I really care. Go Celtics, right? That's what this podcast is about. That's what I'm about. That's what you guys are about. Go Celtics. Easy mantra. You don't want to watch a losing team. You want to watch them win the finals every goddamn year. Is it annoying? Maybe. It's worth it. It's 100% worth it. The 3 years that I literally was glued to this team, even more so now before they could win the championship. I fell in love with this team. I watch basketball, but I fell in love with this team when they went on that 17-game winning streak or something of the sort, very close, back in 2017. When they just couldn't lose. I fell in love with that team during that winning streak. It just clicked for me. And I never played basketball. Not in a high school or professional sense, right? I played rec. It wasn't one of the sports I really had a love for playing. And now I love watching them. I understand how hard it is. And it's easy to cheer for a team that does the right things. We've garnered respect from this year because we didn't tank. Because the opportunity was in front of us. Everybody said, oh, you guys have won so much. Everything's against you. Take the year off. Nobody's going to care. And we didn't do that. And we're rewarded for it. And everybody says, that's why you don't tank. It might work out for you. And it did. We respect the game of basketball. That's how I feel how this team is going into the season, into the playoffs. Excuse me. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. It sounds like I'm ending this episode. We've got one more thing to talk about. But that's kind of the big chunk for the postseason outlook for this week. The last thing I wanted to talk about, the league announced it. There is an expansion. It looks like there's going to be a team in Seattle, and looks like there's going to be a team in Vegas. There will be an expansion draft. How many players do we keep? Who do we keep? Who are we willing to lose? I want to talk about that next week. I'm going to have a guest on. We're going to talk about the team. Seattle has been wanting a team for the last few years, since they lost the team to OKC, I should say. Kevin Durant's first season, he played with Seattle. Then they moved to OKC. He's always been a big proponent for getting a team back to Seattle, which I respect. One of the things I love about Kevin Durant, he's always been clear and consistent on that point of saying Seattle deserves and needs a basketball team. They're getting it back. They are going to probably go back to using the Supersonics name. And OKC, I don't know if it was the team that announced it, but I did read that if they go back to the Supersonics branding, that OKC will give up the history. What do I mean by that is there was a championship, one in Seattle, maybe a couple. I'm actually not too familiar, but I know there was at least one. They owned the branding, the rights. They are the Oklahoma City Thunder are the old Supersonics. When they moved, they still kind of hold all the franchise rights to what they were, the branding, the championships. The Lakers do this. The Los Angeles Lakers are 12, I believe it's 12. They have 17. I think they won 5 in Minnesota. So they are 12-time world champions of the NBA. They don't say that. They say they're 17-time world champions. The reason they do that is because they wanted to be the premier team. And when they didn't always used to do that. Not many people know that they've always included. They obviously, why are they called the Lakers, right? Why is it the Los Angeles Lakers? They started in Minnesota, and then they moved from Minnesota to Los Angeles. Minnesota is the land of lakes. There's a lot of lakes in Minnesota. Not that many in Los Angeles, but you know what? They took the name. And they didn't always include the championships. They at their start of Los Angeles only included the wins they got in Los Angeles. It wasn't up until the number got closer to the Celtics amount of championships that they included Minnesota's wins. Oklahoma City doesn't do that now, which I credit. And I think LA is dumb for that. They're trying to ride our tail and get close. And it was annoying when they tied it up in 2020. And thankfully, we have one on them now. But that being said, LA does do it. It's annoying. Oklahoma City has never done this. They won last year, and everybody, media included and the team included, said, this is Oklahoma City's first championship. This is all we have. They hang a banner for one. They don't hang Seattle Sonics banners. Since they've been in Oklahoma, they have one championship. They might have 2 by the end of the year. They've been in a couple championships. They won one. So credit to OKC for doing that. And they did say if they go back to the Seattle Supersonics, they will give up the rights to all of that for that Seattle team. I credit them for doing that. They deserve the respect for doing that. That is not something that is done by every team. You see it in the NFL. The old Houston Oilers team moved in 92? 90s to Tennessee. No, maybe earlier. They moved to Tennessee and became the Tennessee Titans. They hold all of the Oilers branding, so much so that they use it as their throwback. When they play in throwback jerseys, it's the Houston Oilers jerseys. There is a team in Houston again, the Houston Texans. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Well, that's 2002, I think they came back, but the Tennessee Titans did not give up the branding. I don't know if they wanted to become the Oilers, but even so, they're wearing a Houston Oilers throwback jersey, the color scheme, and just recently, they branded new jerseys for the first time in 15 years, whatever it was, and they're going back to the same color scheme as the Oilers, the baby blue, and instead of the dark baby blue and red, whatever those colors are. Now, instead of the dark blue, blue, silver that they've had. Kind of weird that a history that was never in your town, you are now modernizing and making your own, and you didn't give it up to the Texans when they came back. They had to call them the Texans. I'm not sure if they wanted to, but all in all to say, it's weird. It causes weird storylines. And so the fact that OKC is doing this is not a regular thing. There are instances where this does not happen. The Lakers with the championships, they include the Minnesota championships. You know, it's a weird thing, and it's a credit to OKC for doing it. That was super long and convoluted. I apologize. Going back to why we're talking about this in the first place, because Seattle Supersonics are getting a team. So congratulations, Seattle, for getting the team. The second team is Vegas. The Las Vegas boom, I'm saying this in quotes, of getting sports teams in the last 10 years extremely fascinating because tourism has dropped. Part of that was COVID, but my generation seemingly is not going to Vegas as much. They're spending less money there. Gambling has really, I'm not going to say people are gambling less. They're definitely gambling more now, but more of it is concentrated in the sports gambling world. So Vegas is still making its money because all those casinos run those sports books. But the actual city of Las Vegas is taking a hit. Less people are going. They already have the Golden Knights and the Raiders. I don't think they should be the team they should be the second team. The NBA is going to do it because Las Vegas is just the place to go. I'm curious how successful they will be. I want to see myself in 10 years look back and say, I don't know if that was the right move. But the two teams that are being created are obviously in the West. Seattle, Las Vegas, both in the Western United States. The league would be at 32 teams. 32. You would also have one too many in the West. The Western Conference would be two greater than the East. Their solution to this is moving a Western team to the East. Not as hard or ridiculous as it might seem. There are 3 teams in particular that you look at and you go, they're basically in the Eastern United States. And those 3 teams that I've seen are the Grizzlies, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Pelicans, New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans is kind of the third there, and I've seen it thrown out. Personally, I think they should stay in the West. They're a Southern team, but they're West. So the 2 teams you have are the Minnesota Wild Timberwolves or the Memphis Grizzlies. I would have told you, I think it should be the Timberwolves because I just think they fit in to the rivalries of Minnesota, Michigan, Detroit. And Timberwolves are near the Pistons, Indiana Pacers. I feel like it would have fit in a little better than the Grizzlies playing teams because you have to think, they got to fit into a regional conference like we are in with Brooklyn, New York, and Toronto, being in the upper northeast area of the United States and Canada. And I feel like Grizzlies don't really fit in well with the Heat and I guess, is it Washington? Is it the Wizards? See, that's a weird conference in itself, but at least it's coastline where the Grizzlies really aren't that. But, so I would have wanted Minnesota, but the other news I've seen, and actually Draymond Green is the one I heard this from, and apparently it is a storyline, it is something we should keep an eye on, is that the Memphis Grizzlies should get out of Memphis. I've never heard a good thing about Memphis, admittedly. Never heard one good thing. But it is a town. They do sell seats. It's never a team where people say, oh, they're just not fundable or they don't make a good profit or whatever it may be. They're not a cheap team. Not that I've seen. They draft reasonably well. They make good trades. If it wasn't for their star player being kind of an asshole, they would be a good team right now. But they say that they should move out of Memphis and go to Nashville. Nashville has the Predators. Of all things, Nashville has a hockey team. Weird. They don't have a baseball team. They have a football team. They have the Titans. The Titans are in Nashville. I feel like Nashville could get a third team. That is a very not similar city personality like Vegas, but structurally is like Vegas. Like it is a very touristy city. A lot of people go in for the weekend, go to Broadway, go drinking. Obviously, there's big communities around it. I'm not saying Nashville is just some bum city, but the Predators hockey arena is a very big indoor arena. You wouldn't have to build a stadium. You could just use that stadium. Of course, the ownership would want to maybe build a stadium, but I'm just saying it's available. It's very big. It's right in downtown. Very cool. Easy to get to. Is it worth it to move them out of Memphis and go to Nashville? I think it is. If you think it's worth it to put a third team in Vegas and they might think it's profitable, I think Nashville's right there. And I think I'd rather go to Nashville than Memphis. Tough for Memphis, but like I said, the most I've ever heard about Memphis is mostly from stand-up comedians, which is don't go out at night. And you never think Memphis would be that. Memphis is entirely a dangerous city. Maybe it's worth it to move them into Nashville. Maybe they get more credibility going to Nashville. Maybe more players go to play for them being in Nashville. Nashville's a more exciting city. And I'd like to see that. Would they stay the Grizzlies? Maybe. I don't know. But because they started as the Vancouver Grizzlies, and maybe they just rebrand altogether and come something else. It's a third page to this expansion conversation, right? Obviously, the first is the expansion draft that's going to take place and happen. And who do we save? And that's going to be a conversation for next week. then what teams are getting expansion teams. And then this weird inkling of, well, there's 2 West teams, so we're going to have to make an Eastern team. And it just becomes a little more easier if Memphis Grizzlies go to Nashville, where you go, okay, that's an Eastern team. Something to think about, something I'm going to keep my eye on. Things are going to move quickly. This expansion draft would be in the next few years. Got a lot of young guys. Got a lot of older guys, too. What guys do you look at and go, like, obviously, Vooch wouldn't be, let's say Vooch is still on the team in 2 years, whenever they do this draft. Vooch isn't a guy you keep old age alone. Like, just because he's 30, he'll be 38 at that point if he's still playing. That's a guy you go, okay, no. Jason Tatum, 33, 34 years old. Do you keep Jason Tatum? Obviously you do, but, it's just, you got to think about it. Like, there's weird things that age, salary, you only get so many saves. I think it's 8. I think you can save 8 players, which honestly is most. What if all of a sudden they said you can only save 6? Things start getting a little more interesting. You can save a starting lineup and you're 6-man? That's all you can save? A year ago, Cade's not that. And then we don't get Cade. So it's going to be fun to watch this play out. Something to think about. Let me run down the Celtics game for you this week. I think I already did, but let me do it one more time. And let's see how we're going to do it. Like I said, we want to close the gap on Detroit. We're 4 games behind. We better do it quickly. Obviously, this is going to be posted on Monday, so the Timberwolves game is already over. But we got the Thunder on Wednesday, and then you got the Hawks on Friday. Those 3 teams, Timberwolves, Thunder, and Hawks, tough opponents down the stretch here. You got to get those wins. You got to close the gap on Detroit. If we walk out of this week 0-3, gap's gone. There's no chance of getting it back. If we go 3-0, it's probably a 3-game gap, maybe a 2-game gap, depending on how Detroit does. And then it's anybody's game. Thinking about it. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you had fun. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about who you would keep. Maybe I'll bring it up in the episode next week. Let me know your thoughts about if Vegas is the right kind of city. Do you think Seattle should have a team? Is there another city that I even think about that should be mentioned? I'd like to know. Thank you again for watching. Next week, episode 20. Exciting things. Whoa. Go Celtics. See you guys all next week.